So we have Tyler Russo, $1 billion Clown 5. I'm sure all you guys know who he is because he's dope. Now, let's look at his list. As I appreciate his list, it's similar to kind of his other list, but he has a new tech piece in there, which I appreciate. He has the Big Mech in Mega Armor. Like I said, guys, this is actually kind of making his appearance. The Mega Knobs themselves are starting to make their appearance. He has Captain Badrook as well, so he's very much aware, of course, of what the new kill piece is, which is Captain Badrook. Mazrog's Scrag Bag, and then 1 unit of Smash Quick and Wapa's Kill Chopper. This is exactly how I like to run him too. I think on one of his prior lists, can't quote me, he might have been using the Beast Boss on Squigosaur with Edwapas. I think, guys, most people are, the more you get into the meta, the more you understand, you're probably going to start putting Edwapa's Kill Chopper on the knob because he's going to get more viability to not be killed before he actually gets into combat. And because he'll might survive multiple combats due to his bodyguard. Now we have Beast Snaggers. 1, 2, 3, 4 trucks. So he did drop from the 6, or I think he was doing them before, to 4 trucks. I think, like I said before, we've seen that a couple times, right? 4 trucks, maybe even 5, are still very much useful, still very much prevalent in the top tables, and very good players in general. We got Flash Gits, Gretchen, that's that big unit of Mega Knobs. They could not go in the vehicle because there's 6 of them, right? And they take 2 slots each, and then he also has the character. So you might have outflanked them. Who knows what he did? Like I said, guys, we can actually see what possibly, if he goes over this, what he was actually thinking with this list building. 1 unit of Squighog Boys, that's how I like to see him, a big brick, and then 2 small units, guys. I really like to see these small units. They're so useful and they're small like that, and easier to hide and still have the ability to skirmish and beat anybody up. And then 2 units of Storm Boys, so he did tech into even more scoring because he only has 4 trucks instead of the other list maybe had 6 or 5. The Storm Boys give the ability, you want to tell your opponent I can deep strike. You want to force them to screen so that they don't kind of like frontline into you, because if you have nothing into deep strike, you don't want that person to just frontline their entire army and then end up being able to meet you 4 on force, because that's not what Orks want, as we want to control our rate of attrition and not get completely decimated early. So that's why I really like Storm Boys, even just for that backline pressure. Now let's see his first matchup, because he went in hot and heavy. Eldar BS. So that's why I said his video could tell us exactly what's happening here, because that's literally what it says, guys. Here's Tyler. Here's his game 1. Eldar BS. I think we looked at enough Eldar lists today anyways. I can just guess off the top of my head. He had an Artarg Way Leaper. He had some War Walkers. He had some Warp Spiders. He had some Wraith Guard. And then, maybe a Yunkarn or the Avatar of Cain. So we can all just take guesses, and then when his video comes out, we'll know for sure. Let's go into the second matchup. Was the Tyranids Tool, and it's titled Toolkit Nids. So we have the Death Leaper and the Hive Tyrant. The new Death Leaper mod is cool. Biovore, Exocrines, Harrowspecs. And guys, keep in mind, look how cheap these Harrowspecs is. If you haven't played into Tyranid monsters, or you are, note this unit, big old boy, almost costs as much as 3 Squighog Boys. So that's always going to be very common unless he gets an increase, which he never will. Then we have Maliceptor. Goodness. This is also why I would like to see how Tyler did, because Maliceptors are not easy for Orks to kill, especially if you decide you're going to bring Mega Knobs, as they have flat 3 damage shooting, they have flat damage 3 in their fighting, and they have that built-up invuln. 1 unit of Ripper Swarm, 1 unit of Ripper Swarm, 1 unit of Ripper Swarm. That's fantastic. I'm slightly jealous, not necessarily because we have Grots, but very tiny 1 little base unit. Yeah, that's going to be bothering people for the ability to score and run around the board. Tyrant Guard, Zoanthrope. No, this is a pretty solid list, guys. I'm not even going to lie. It's a bit different than what we've been seeing constantly, as usually there's a bunch of Biovores, but 3 Maliceptors is going to be somewhat difficult for Orcs sometimes, and then you get his little toolkit pieces of having the Ripper Swarms and now. So yeah, I'm really kind of interested to see what happened here with Tyler, and how, because he ended up still getting 100 points against that list too, guys. So the first game, and he got 100 points into the Eldar BS. Second game, 100 points. As I really do think the trucks are quite important in these. So never forget trucks if you got them. Now, his last game was into the World Eaters list, guys. Now, if you've been paying attention to the channel at all, you'll know that I've been calling out World Eaters for about a month. Okay, at least saying that keep an eye on World Eaters. It was actually on my the post beta slate. I put World Eaters on there. If you look online, anyone's going to tell you World Eaters suck. Okay, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Against Orcs, you do need to keep in mind how to play World Eaters, as they are a bit tricky sometimes. Now, here, usually when I play against these guys, I never see an Angron, but when I have seen Angron, if if the World Eater player misplays, as in decides to deep strike Angron or something, you can just take over the board and ignore Angron. But if he decides to run Angron into the middle of the board and challenge you, it could be a problem. So we have the World Eater's Demon Prince. If you don't know what he does, he has a aura, because he thinks he's an 8th edition of a 4-up invuln. So he has a 6-inch aura of a 4-up invuln. That means you can have little dudes walk into him and start giving him that invuln, and it matters. Okay. Then he has the World Eater's Demon Prince with wings. I haven't seen the one with wings, but I'm very aware of this Berserker Gleave, as it pretty much gives them +2 damage, I believe. And so most of the time you'll see this on the Master of Execution. So I haven't played into this exact list, but I have an understanding of what's happening here. The 8 bound. So 8 bound have the ability to pretty much possibly turn 1 charge you. And I believe if it's not the Exalted, these, one of them, sorry, I should have taken this as a note, have an aura of reroll 1 to wound. Then you have a World Eater's Chaos Spawn, and this is what I want to keep in mind. I think World Eaters do best when they have allies. And the one, I'm not going to show that. I think Brigands are their best ally. But Blood Crushers are an excellent ally, as they're pretty much like Squighog Boys, like I said earlier. So they have similar wounds, they have multiple attacks, and they have a 4-up invuln built in instead of that Feel No Pain. But World Eaters will give them a 6 Feel No Pain. So very much a good unit if you're not used to them. Flesh Hounds possibly just for scoring, because he brought Angron. This is actually a new tech piece that I'm going to have to be talking about in my videos, because this is someone who's come up twice already. And then this is really what I think helps World Eaters greatly, is to have War Dog Brigands. They give them that shooting that they lack. They give them the ability to pop armor with their Meltas. And then Brigands have 8 OC for late game objective stealing, and they're fast and they can stand at the back of the board. So we already know Tyler is an excellent player, right? As we've seen from here, as we've seen from his GT results, and he got taken down by a World Eaters army. And that's not because he's bad suddenly, because he lost to World Eaters. It's because World Eaters have a bunch of different tech that's actually very useful into Orks. The fact that they can advance and charge all game, right? The fact that they have the ability to get sustained hits, the fact that they have the ability to fight on death in a 4+, and they can choose these based off their rolls, which they get so many dice, they're essentially always going to be able to choose. And then Angron can come back, but I mean, I don't know if that's always going to happen. World Eaters are something you need to pay attention to, because if Tyler got taken down by them, I understand that I was not too far off by trying to warn you guys that World Eaters are a tech matchup for us. Keep in mind that we have to keep in mind. You need to know their rules. You need to know that they have a built-in strat that is a 6-inch auto advance, okay? And then they can advance and charge. So they have that threat the whole game. Another thing that I would see on these lists that wasn't on this one is their Mauler Fiend. World Eaters Mauler Fiends are excellent. So they give built-in like buff to charging and everything. Sorry, I'm going on rants here, guys, but I think because it's RTT new meta, it's important that I kind of throw my ideas out there on what's actually happening on these matchups. And I hope Tyler does something built in on this. Even though he did lose it the last game, I think he gives some interesting feedback.